Hey there, Buddy Power here, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be playing a little known game you probably never heard of. You know what? I can't do it. I wanted to try to do the heavy sarcasm and everything. It's just not in me. This is Titanfall. It's the big release of the spring. It's probably going to be, well, everyone's looking at it as the guy to finally, maybe not dethrone Call of Duty, but stand right there with it and be the other big release that people must own, at least compete against it. And yeah, I'm sure we've all heard of it, we've all seen some of it. So, a few things before we jump in. I'm going to spend about 15 minutes here going through the game, the features, and everything. If you don't want to see that, click the button to jump ahead to the gameplay. Next, I'm probably going to be a little more down on this than a lot of the videos you may have seen early on. Now, this is just in perspective to the hype and what they were promising. In the end, so I guess I'll put this out right now. I'm not going to give my final score or anything on it. In the end, though, this is a very good first-person shooter. This game does feel like the next iteration on the Call of Duty formula. I'm not going to say the next iteration of Call of Duty, but the Call of Duty formula. I'll summarize this up again at the end. But basically, if you look back, the jump in technology that happened from Call of Duty 3 to Call of Duty 4, when they went from the World War II environment to the modern warfare environment, there was a big change in the gameplay. It was still, at heart, a lot of the same game, but it was a big step forward. This is kind of how I feel about this move from Call of Duty to Titanfall. While the core gunplay is very similar, it's the next big step up. And this does feel like the next generation of that franchise. Of course, it's obviously a different franchise. So, when I go in here for the first 10 minutes now, and talk about what it's missing, what I wish there was more of, and everything. In the end, I still believe this is a good game, and I'm just pointing out some of the things that are lacking that I expected based on all the hype we have seen coming leading into this game. Okay, here we are. For first thing we're actually going to talk about game specific now is the servers. This game is entirely online. There is no offline play. Even the campaign mode is played via multiplayer. Everything is done by EA's server hosting. It may actually be just connecting you with client-side connections, though you look here, data center US East, 33 milliseconds. There's some type of server out there you're connecting to. And for the first time in a long time, EA has gotten their servers right. I did not play at midnight at launch, but I jumped on it about 8 a.m. the next morning, and so far I've had no connections issues. For the most part, it has put me on servers where I'm running around a 30 to 40 ping, maybe highest was about 60. I did have a few matches where for 30 or 40 seconds my ping jumped to what felt like about 300. You know, you just get that sudden choppiness where guys are kind of moving around the map a little bit, but that was very brief. Overall, the servers have been very stable. Whatever technology they're using is working very good. I still wish there were some dedicated servers. I had some issues early on where we jump in and two people would drop. And as the time, as is what is common a lot of times for dedicated, or I'm not sorry, not dedicated servers, but matchmaking systems, they never replace those guys. So our team went on and we fought 4-on-6 for about 10 minutes before we finally lost, and we clearly lost. Of course, that could still happen on a dedicated server, but it's less likely to happen. I wish we had dedicated servers, but so far this has worked and has been fairly flawless. I can't fault them on that. Let's go ahead and we're going to click in here and it's going to connect us up. Ah, it's good coffee. Alright, here we are. Here is the main menu system actually within the game. So we're now connected to one of their servers, and we have several options. We have the campaign mode, which I've gone through and completed. We will come back to this. This will be the last thing we talk about. We have Play Classic. This is your multiplayer standard options. So attrition. This is deathmatch where killing the the creeps matter. I will talk more about the creeps a little bit in a little bit, but that's the AI controlled NPCs. So depending on what you kill, each team starts off with a certain amount of points. I want to say it's 150. Killing a pilot is worth like 10 points. Killing a specter is worth like 5 points. Killing a creep is worth like 3 points. And as you kill them, you whittle down the other team's points until whichever team hits 0 first loses. It's deathmatch with higher incentive on the creeps. Last Titan standing, probably my least favorite game mode. You start out on the field with 12 Titans, 6 on 6, 6 Titans on each side. Whichever team blows up all the other team's Titans first wins. The last Titan still alive wins. I don't know, I found it forgettable. The Titan combat, we'll get into this a little bit later again. I don't want to keep pushing things off, but I have those in each little individual section. The Titan combat is good, but it's not the strength of this game. Hardpoint, this is domination, what you'd call domination. So there's 3 points around the map. If you stand by that point, you convert it over to you, and as long as you control those points, you get ticks for each time it happens. And then the first team to, like, you start off with a score of 0. If you own 3, you'll get like plus 15 each tick, and then whichever team gets to the max, which I believe is like 150 again, wins. So this mode is enjoyable. It's not great, but it works. Capture the flag. There's one flag, well, 2 flags. Your enemy flag, your flag. You want to capture their flag and bring it to your flag. Pretty straightforward. Pilot Hunter. Probably my favorite mode. So this is attrition, but the focus is only on the pilots. So your team only gets credit for scoring pilot kills. The creeps are still on the field. They can still be used to reduce the cooldown timer on your Titan and such. But in order to get a tick towards the objective, you kill enemy pilots. For some reason, I'm finding this mode to be the most enjoyable. It tends to last the longest, and I really enjoy it. It doesn't do much different than attrition other than how it scores, but I find it a little more enjoyable. Variety pack just means it's going to randomize up this. Let's jump back. The training mode. When you first log into the game, no matter what, you're going to have to go through the training mode. It takes about 10 minutes, and it's actually very good to do if you haven't played the beta or anything like that, as it goes through the wall running system, the movement system, the parkour system, and then it goes into the Titan calling and the Titan commanding your Titan a little bit. And it is actually quite helpful. The only reason you'd have to redo it again, though, is if you have multiple people playing on the same computer on the same account and they didn't go through the training the first time around. So that's really all that is. Then we have, really ignore the last game summary, personal stats. Challenges is just what you would expect. There's a system of challenges that you can complete in. As far as I can tell, they don't give you anything other than, like, awards to your account for faster unlocks. If you complete a challenge, you gain that XP on your character to unlock your next weapon or whatever. So we will look back at pilot loadouts, Titan loadouts, and burn cards. These two are what you would expect. Come in here, we'll have eventually 5 options for pilot loadouts. Then in here you can choose your primary weapon. If we go back here, you have a primary weapon, an anti-Titan weapon, some type of rocket launcher or something, a sidearm. You have a tactical ability. This is your cloak or your radar through walls. Ordnance is grenades or whatever. Consider tier 1 and tier 2 kits your perk, and then you can change your gender from male to female. Alright, time to start being a little down on the game. All of this is a little lacking. First of all, pet peeve of mine, let me rename these. Why can't I rename what the loadout is? I like to name them based off the weapons, so this would be Smart Pistol loadout. This loadout here would be my carbine, shotgun. I would just rename them so when I'm jumping through here, I can say, alright, so this is the one I got my shotgun on, this is the one with my LMG on, and so forth. Minor pet peeve. The true problem, so that's just a gripe. Here's all the primary weapons in the game. Carbine, shotgun, the Smart Pistol, SMG, DMR. This is the DMR. This is a sniper. Well, why do they call that a DMR? This is more of a DMR to me. This is anyway, sniper. Then eventually we're gonna get a 3-round assault rifle. We're gonna get, another SMG, longer sniper rifle, that's an LMG and a sniper rifle. So I come into this, I've been playing a lot of Battlefield lately, Been enjoying it quite a bit. It's a fun game. But I notice there's just not a lot of guns here. And there's not a lot of unique guns for a game that takes place in the future. They finally took it out of the modern warfare, and they could have really gone for some interesting things. The only weapon that's remotely interesting is the smart pistol. And this is the one you've probably seen in the videos, where if there's somebody inside your center hood within about 40 yards, it'll lock on to up to, I think, 8 targets. It might be 6 targets. And then when you pull the trigger, it'll headshot all those targets. A enemy pilot takes 3 direct hits, and it'll lock on to up to 3 times, but it'll take about a second and a half, 2 seconds to get all 3 lock-ons on that single target. And if the target breaks line of sight on you, you'll lose that lock-on, you have to reacquire it. So it's a high-risk, high-reward type of pistol. If you're big on accuracy, this will probably be your best weapon to use. It's an interesting take on the pistol. None of these others have anything really unique to them that I've found. I've used the carbine, I've used the shotgun. I've used the shotgun a lot. The shotgun is very effective at close quarters, even mid-range. It probably actually needs a nerf to its effective range. Use the pistol, use the SMG. I messed around with a little bit with the sniper rifle, and I've used this. This is why I call this is a sniper. This is more of just a dedicated marksman rifle. This is pretty good for mid-range and everything. I've also used the LMG through a burn card, and I think that is it. And none of them have anything that really sets them in the future. They're just a skinned-over modern warfare weapon. We had so many chances here. Then, coming from Battlefield, I would have liked a way, maybe not have 3 carbines. It would have been nice to have 1 carbine set up for accuracy, 1 carbine set up for stopping power. So, one would be have a longer barrel and a slower rate of fire, but far more accurate at mid to long range. The other carbine could have had a much higher recoil, but more damage, more effective at close range. And maybe they didn't want to go ahead and make 3 different carbines, but they could have given us attachments to modify this. So there was only 1 base carbine, but you could fit it to 3 or 4 different playstyles. There is none of that. And I think that's probably my biggest disappointment with the entire game. When you come in here, so once you select the carbine, you can choose a sight, and then you can choose either a suppressor or extended mag. Not very exciting. If we go back here and we choose the shotgun, which I have everything unlocked on, the shotgun can either get a suppressor, a lead wall, which increases its buckshot spread, or a high-capacity drum, and that's it. That's the only customization on the shotgun. So there's 1 shotgun with 3 attachments. And it's just... I think there was a chance at so much more, and I'm a little disappointed in that. Anti-Titan weapons, these are your rocket launchers. There's 4 different ones of those. We're not going to go through everything. Sidearms, there's 3 different sidearms. You got the auto pistol, you got the higher caliber pistol, and then this looks like this will be it's a revolver style. So this is a Magnum, this is a revolver, this is an auto pistol. Very straightforward. And you know what? They didn't need to go through. There was no need for them to make 5 different carbines. Or if you look at Battlefield, there's no did they really need 9 different assault rifles? I guess not. But there was a need for, in my opinion, having ways to change your assault rifle to fit different playstyles isn't a bad thing. And that's what the 9 different assault rifles do. One assault rifle is better at close quarters, one's better at this, one's better at that. So you can choose one that fits your playstyle. And there isn't any of that here. Tactical ability, there's 3 tactical abilities. These are fun to play with. Cloak is the common one you see most people use. It turns you invisible for about 20 seconds on about a 30-second cooldown, and you'll stay cloaked until you either pull the trigger or until it runs out. There's no way to turn it off midway, at least not that I figured out. Stim is the one that I use for most of my loadouts. This lets you sprint, and it turns on a health regeneration. And since movement around the battlefield is very important, this is fun. Active radar turns on a pulse that'll go out through the walls and allow you to see everybody, friendlies and enemies, in your vicinity through the walls. Fun. This is more for the stealthy player. So, I am using Cloak, though. Cloak works well with this smart pistol. Your grenades, what you'd expect, 4 different grenades. Satchel charge is a little odd. I can't use it to save my life. It's C4 with a clicker afterwards, so you toss it, but you can't throw it nearly as far. It's tough. Here is your perk system. So there are 6 basic perks. You got just standard stuff. This reduces, or this increases your capacity. This reduces the cooldown of your tactical ability. Run and gun allows you to aim with your pistol while sprinting. This could be fun. Quick reload. Stealth kit removes your footsteps and turns the exhaust on your jetpack off. Tier 2 kit, some of these are kind of cool. These first few affect your Titan. So this is a shield battery, which puts a shield over him when he's called in that the enemies can't shoot through for about 12 seconds, or until you get in and move out. But you can't shoot out of it either. So while you're in it, you're kind of isolated. This is a mini map minion detector, so the creeps puts them on the map. Warpfall, when you call your Titan in, by default, like you mark where you want your Titan to go, and then he'll drop in. It takes about 6 seconds for him to come in from space. This brings that down to 2 seconds. He's basically boom, he's there, and you can get in and go. This is martyrdom, basically. Figure once you die, all your explosives go off. Ice pick, there are turrets and stuff throughout the level, throughout some of the levels that you can hack. This decreases that time. This one I'm looking forward to getting. This increases the effectiveness of the Guardian side of your Titan when it's being run by the AI. Alright, well there's your pilot customization. Nothing here is wrong, nothing here is broken, nothing here is bad. I just wish there was more of it. For such a big game, I wish we had had more. We'll go back and we're going to go real quick through the Titan loadouts. Very much the same. You have 3 chassis. Come back in here. You have, what do we got? 2, 4, 6 different Titan weapons. I have all but the last one unlocked. These weapons will get a little bit of addition as you use it. There'll be something you can add on to it. The Titan gets its own tactical ability. This is the Vortex Shield you've seen a lot of. This is that shield he puts up that captures all of the enemy bullets shot at it, and then you throw them back at him. Electric Smoke just is a smoke screen that also does damage, good for getting anybody off your back that's trying to rodeo you. Particle Wall, I have just unlocked this before I logged off to create this video. I haven't got to use it. Puts up a barrier that you can shoot through, but the enemy can't shoot through, but they can shoot the barrier and eventually destroy it. So you can use it for focused fire effects and everything. It looks fun. Ordnance. Instead of grenades, he's got a little bit of rocket launchers in him. There, you got rocket pods, and you got lock-on rockets, and so forth. Nothing crazy. Tier 2 kit, so this is abilities that you put on your guys. It's like ejection seats. One of them causes them to go nuclear after you eject. One of them reloads his tactical ordnance faster. Pretty basic stuff, nothing crazy. And Tier 2 kit's another 5 options. This one will be fun once you get the big punch. Do not underestimate being punched in the face by a Titan. In Titan vs. Titan, a melee punch is like the equivalent of 5 rockets to the face. Okay, again, very similar to the pilot. Acceptable, but wow, they could have done so much more. And the last thing we're going to look at is the burn card system. So this is kind of unique. The burn cards, you get these cards throughout playing the game. I'm not sure exactly how they are awarded. I believe they're based on what happened in the previous match. At one point, I had like 10 of these shotguns. And I think that was because throughout the campaign, I played with the shotgun a lot. I used the shotgun almost exclusively through the entire campaign. So I think because of that, I got awarded a lot of shotgun perk cards. But I don't know if that's entirely true. But anyway, you get these perk cards. You can only carry, I think, about 30 of them in your deck, and then you get full and you have to use them up. And you can choose 3 perk cards before you go into each match. Then at the beginning of any life in that match, so you can start off right from the dropship, you can choose a perk card, and it'll give you a bonus to that life. Once you die, that perk card is gone. Then you respawn, but before you spawn, you can choose another perk card and use that. So in any one match, you can use 3 lives worth of perk cards. And they do some interesting stuff. You know, this will respawn you rather than back at your base. You just get right back up where you were and can continue fighting. Most of them are higher caliber weapons. So instead of the standard carbine, I get a more lethal version of the carbine. Then there's some other ones. This one permanently stim the pilot. You run faster and everything. This gives you a better radar. This is good for snipers. Let's see what else is there. This will reduce how long it takes to get your Titan and so forth. It brings some variety to some of the lives in the map. I tend to be maxed out on these because I use one at the beginning of a match, and then after I do that, each time I jump into I die, I'm in a rush to respawn, and I always forget to choose my next burn card. So I always end up using just one each match and never any more. That's not a complaint against the game. That's just me being dumb and trying to get back in. I wanna get back in and start shooting again. This adds, while no real complexity, it adds some fun things to the game. It also lets you try out some weapons you wouldn't normally be able to get. Like here's the higher end sniper rifle I could grab if I wanted to. It gives you unlimited grenades. It adds some variety to it. Okay, so there we've covered basically everything but the campaign. Let's talk about the campaign for a few minutes and then we'll get into some gameplay. I've been rattling on. Here is the campaign map. 9 missions. Technically it's 18 missions. So, if you kind of look here in each corner, there's in one side there's an IMC and the other side there's a militia, is what they call them. When you first start up, you could end up on either side, but the real way you're supposed to play through is you play through as militia. I think this is the way you're supposed to play through. It's hard to say. But first you play through as the militia, then you play through as the IMC. So you see the battle from one perspective, and then you see the battle from the other perspective. And this is done very much the multiplayer game. So these are just 9 of the multiplayer maps. There are more than this, but they chose 9 of the multiplayer maps. And what they did was they put a story overlay on top of a match of the multiplayer. So this would be like either annihilation or domination. So either kill all the enemies or capture the points. But they'll give you a reason why you're capturing that point. This is a domination one. So on this map, there is a spot that is a fueling depot, there's a spot that is an AA gun, and there's a spot that I'm not sure what the third one is. Basically, the militia are trying to steal your fuel. So they'll come in, and if they control the fueling spot, their ships will be getting fuel. If they control the AA spot, it'll shut down the AA guns. If you control the AA spot, your AA guns will be shooting at the ships as they're getting fuel. If you control both the AA guns and the refueling spot, they won't be getting fuel and they'll be getting shot at. Now, none of this actually matters to the story or what happens. It's still just a domination match, and whoever controls the spots for longer just get more points and eventually wins. If your side wins, so say we're playing the IMC, if we win, they'll say, oh, we gave a real beating to those guys. The militia lost. On the militia side, they'll say, oh, we might have lost, but we got enough fuel to survive for a little while. However, if the militia wins, they'll say, oh, we got away with so much fuel, we're set for a little while. We're good to go for a few days. And the IMC will say, well, they got a bit more fuel than we wanted, but we took down about 50% of their ships. The end outcome is the same. Even if you lose, you win, and you move on to the next map. And then the next map will be some other story, but it'll still be just annihilation on that map. So you'll go through, you'll play through as one of the factions. At the end, you'll be awarded a Titan for that, one of the 2 additional Titan chassis. Then you go back through and you play through again all 9 missions, and at the end you're awarded the other Titan chassis. So there's good and there's bad in this. Let's make no qualms about it. This game was multiplayer focused from the drawing board. This is like old Battlefield 2. They weren't making a campaign, they were making a multiplayer game. And I like their mindset, at least this is what I assume they said. You know what they say about what happens when you assume. I assume they went in and said, you know what, we're not going to waste a whole bunch of resources on a single player campaign. Let's make the best multiplayer game we can. Let's put all of our resources into that. But we'll capture some cutscenes, we'll do some audio, and we'll put that over top of a section of the maps in order to make it. It's a very smart idea, and overall I bet it makes a better game. But it did not make a better single-player campaign. It made a very forgettable single-player campaign. I beat the single-player campaign about 12 hours ago. I could not tell you a name of a single character from the campaign. I have no idea what it is. I know the basic storyline. Well, no, I don't even know if I know the basic storyline. You have the militia, they're fighting the IMC. They're fighting and they get different stuff, and there's a tower that keeps evil monsters away, and then we destroy the tower to get their city overrun. Spoiler alert. And then some other stuff happens. I don't know. Now, so that's It's smart that they made that decision, but it made the campaign very unforgettable. However, these missions are actually kind of fun to play, and that may not make sense, but what it does is, if we played this mission, like the colony mission, on regular just domination, you're just playing a multiplayer map, which is still very good. But when you play it through the campaign, well, now you have audio chatter going on. They're talking to your objectives. They're explaining why you want to be winning this objective and not winning that objective. And while it doesn't actually make a good story, it does, in the little vacuum of the bubble of that single match, it makes the objectives a little more relevant. So to be honest, I kind of wish they had done something like this over all of the maps, to just give some relevance of why you're on one side or the other side and what you're fighting over. If they'd done, I think there's about 16 maps, don't quote me on that, I should probably look up and see exactly how many, but if they'd done 16 little mini stories within the conflict between the militia and the IMC, just to provide some context over the combat of the battle, I think that would have been very good. It just doesn't make a very good campaign. It makes a good match, but not a good campaign of matches. Also, playing the same 9 twice is a little boring. Yeah, the second time around, you're just doing it for how long it takes, and it took me about 4 hours to get through the entire campaign. So about an hour and a half, 2 hours for one, and then an hour and a half, 2 hours for the other one. So, there we have it. Now we're going to go ahead, we're going to jump ahead, and we're going to jump into a campaign. I'm going to let the matchmaking take over, and once we are in the campaign, we'll pick back up.
In space, fuel is life, and the militia fleet is running low. Only 7 planets in the Yuma system can replenish a fleet of that size. This is one of them. We've set up turrets like this one, just in case the militia decide to pay this site a visit. That's Charlie, this one's Bravo. Bravo, give me a sit rep.
Turret online and operational, sir. Voice Admiral Grace. Zulu 3 shows multiple jump signatures. 3 clicks out.
Blisk, tell Ricks to get his squad on the deck now.
Sir, our forces have assembled at Ready Point Alpha.
Pilots, today you have a chance to establish peace on the frontier. Make it count.
All pilots secure hardpoint. Alpha, Bravo.
Alright, here we are. This is either the first or 10th, or maybe it's just considered the first. I don't know if one campaign was designed to be played before the other, but this is the first level as the IMC. Now, my first time through, I played through this as Rebels, and I can tell you the intro is very similar. I didn't cut anything there. That was the entire story leading into this campaign. There was no audio beforehand, nothing. There's the intro video when you first launch the game, and then that. And it's a little jarring at first. Like, what did we find out? We found out that there's an enemy fleet, there's only so many planes that can get fuel, they're here to steal our fuel, we gotta stop them from getting fuel, and that's basically it. And if you're on the other side of the story, is basically, you know what, there's only so many places we can get fuel here, I want you to go down there, and I want you to capture the fueling stations and the AA turrets so we can steal their fuel. And that's the intro to this story. It does flesh out a little bit more than that as the game goes on, but that's about what you can expect. Again, just enough to put context into each battle. And as I was saying just a moment ago, I wish if they had gone ahead and put that type of story over every match, even the multiplayer matches, where, okay, this one is an enemy resource center, so the beginning story would just be, okay, we're going to jump in, we need to capture this resource and download these files, so you guys go in and boom. And then the other team's like, we got to prevent them from stealing our resource files. It would have been very good. It just doesn't come together and make a good campaign. And that's probably my biggest complaint with the campaign. It feels more like context to a multiplayer map, and that's exactly what it is. So, you've seen me kill a few things so far. Those are what I was talking about a moment ago, the minions or the creep units. And these are very much the minions or the creep units from a MOBA. And they serve several purposes within the game. And this was a big gamble for Respawn to do. I don't know exactly... Well, it was a big gamble because of several things. If you looked at it on paper, the big promotional first-person shooter that was going to carry the Xbox One, the hopefully the killer app, the new Halo for the Xbox One, was going to be a first-person multiplayer shooter based around 6v6 in 2014? Really? I mean, there was a lot of outrage over that when that first came out, And while the outreach before you play it's a little unreasonable, there was a reason it raised an eyebrow. We were moving towards first-person shooters with Battlefield 64, 32 on 32, or PlanetSide 2, which is coming out on PS4 here in a bit, with, what, 3,000 people on a continent? Or no, is it 3,000 people on a server? I should know that. I play a lot of PlanetSide 2. Doesn't matter. But we're moving towards larger, and then here they're going back towards small Counter-Strike numbers, you know? 6v6. So there was a big gamble in that they took, and I gotta say, overall, it actually works out. These creep units bring several things to the game. So the creeps come in two different varieties. You have the basic grunt variety, which are the Marines, and you have the Spectres, which are the Special Forces. The grunts are the weakest, obviously. They tend to come in these little drop pods. You'll see them every once in a while drop in. And it unloads anywhere, I think about 5 out of each drop pod. It might be 4, it might be 6. And they tend to move around in a squad. And the actual AI scripting of how they move around, how they interact with the environment is actually very well done. While they're extremely weak, they do actually flesh out the level quite a bit, and they feel like an actual... They add realism to the battle. Now, they're complete total cannon fodder. They can't do anything. You know, you can take out a whole squad of them with just your pistol in no time flat, or you can just run through and neck crack all of them over and over and over again. Just very easily. But they do put more bodies on the battlefield. You're going to be running around, you're going to come across these enemy bodies, you're going to come across friendly grunts moving in. If you capture a point and hold it for long enough, friendly grunts will come up and pretend they're going to be defending it. It's not going to stop another pilot from just coming in and decimating, but they're going to act like they're going to defend it and everything. And they also work to reduce the cooldown on your Titan when you kill them. We'll get into that in a moment here. So, overall, the grunts are just cannon fodder, but well-designed cannon fodder. For damage perspective, if you take the smart pistol, it can lock onto them and one bullet, one kill every single time. The Spectres are a little bit stronger. They are... Man, this guy is just owning me. The Spectres are more the ghosts or the special forces. They're a little bit stronger. These guys tend to move around alone or in little groups of maybe 2 or 3. You will occasionally see them actually on rooftops. They carry a little more random ordnance. I've seen them with rocket launchers. I've seen them with sniper rifles. They do not move around like another player. You're not going to see them wall running or anything. They just kind of jump up on the ledges and they'll stand on roofs and then move on to the next roof and so forth. For damage purposes, they take 2 shots from the smart pistol to kill. And then the player takes 3 shots. So you can clearly see the escalation in how much damage somebody can take from that smart pistol. 1 headshot, 2 headshots, 3 headshots in order to kill. Right now there's a little bit of an audio bug going on here. I don't know if this is just PC. Inside the audio options, there is a option for, I forget what it's called, but it's basically, it uses your computer to calculate sounds that should be on the other side of walls to try to muffle them. And I believe this is what's causing this. It causes this audio to get all jittery and choppy and everything. And it just jumps in and out. It's not terrible, it's not horrible. It happens mostly when there's Titans smashing around outside you or a lot of rocket fire going on. I turn it off and it seems to get better, but then each map it turns back on. It doesn't seem to apply correctly to the settings. I assume it's just some sort of bug, though I've not seen anybody other than me complaining about it. I'll have to dig into that a little bit further. Okay, so the grunts, they're cannon fodder, they're there. But they do add several things to the game, and there's several options. For example, under Annihilation mode, they count against the enemy tickets, or they give you points and everything. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many points. Let me just speculate here. I want to say like a regular grunt is 3 points, a Spectre is 10 points, and then an enemy pilot is 30 points per kill. It may not be those, but that's a rough idea of what you're going to get. Then, the reason I think those numbers carry over is they also count towards they reduce the countdown of your Titan. So you can see my Titan here is ready here. What'll happen is when you first start off a map, if you have no additional buffs or burn cards or anything, your Titan takes 3 minutes to call in. He'll start off with a 3-minute cooldown. For every grunt you kill, that'll remove, once again, roughly 3 seconds worth of time. It'll reduce how long it takes to call them in by 3 seconds. For every Spectre you kill, it'll reduce it by about 10 seconds. And for every pilot you kill, it'll reduce it by about 30 seconds. So if you go on a really good kill streak, you can reduce the call down time of your Titan, and you can get your Titan on the battlefield, which adds quite a bit of firepower to your team. And that's the second thing. So you got giving more life to the map, making it not feel like a 6v6. You got a resource for both victory and also for your Titan cooldown. The third thing it does, and perhaps the best thing it does, is at no point do you really feel like you're just getting dominated K to D. So I'm sure we've all, if you've played any type of competitive first-person shooter, you've been there, where there's some maps where you go in and you're just dominating. Maybe not the best player on the map, but you're playing very well for your skill level, where every time you come around a turn, you're facing the right way, and you just destroy the enemy. There's nothing they can do to stop you. And then you come around the turn the other way, and you just happen to be facing the exact right way, and you win again. And this just will continue on and on and on, and you just have a great map. But then the next round, you go in, and although you're not actually playing any different, as you go in, you come around the turn and you're facing the wrong way this time. You're getting shot in the back, and you just play terribly that map. And your K to D just tanks, and you're like, what the heck am I doing? So much frustration, everything. This is where the creeps actually work very well. The creeps come in, and even if you're playing just horribly, you can still get to the grunts and you can kill the grunts. You can still get to the other players and kill the players off. And, I'm sorry, not the players, but the Spectres. And you feel like you're actually contributing to the fight. And that's a good feeling for the game, as it allows new players to come in and feel like they're helping in the fight. And very few games do this. You're not going to run into like Call of Duty type instance where as soon as you spawn you're just dead because there's bombers overhead, gunships, nothing you can do. You will always feel like you're adding to your team's victory. Now, it's kind of a false artificial one. Like I said, you're only getting very minor points. The point is still in killing the other player. But the game has done a good job of just not emphasizing the K to D ratio. It's, at the end of a match, it'll show you how many enemy pilots you've killed, how many Titans you've killed, how many creeps you've killed. It will show you your deaths, but it doesn't do a K/D. But the main thing it highlights is the number of points you've acquired. And the number of points you acquired is based off of your kills of pilots, enemy pilots, Titans, and creep mobs. So it just it takes that focus away, the K to D, and more on how well you played in the map. And I think that's going to make this game far more accessible for the casual player, where they won't feel like they're just not contributing at all and they're just playing terrible. They'll now have an idea of, you know what, not my best map versus the players, but I did do this. I managed to call in 3 Titans, and it worked out fairly well. Before we jump to the next game mode, we're going to jump over to multiplayer. There is something we want to talk about real quick on the victory conditions. So we have just won this map despite my amazing gameplay. We won. And there's now something that replaced the old kill cam or whatever. And this is in all the game modes except for, I believe, Last Titan Standing. It might not be in Capture the Flag, I don't remember. And this is the evacuation. So the team that loses, they're going to have a dropship come in. And this seems to be random where it comes in. But a dropship will be called into a certain area. And the winning team, their focus is they want to either kill all the enemy pilots before they make it to that dropship, or destroy the dropship. The dropship is actually surprisingly durable, and takes a good bit of firepower. We had 5 Titans there firing on that thing in order to take it down as quickly as we did. That's the only time I've actually seen it destroyed. If you are a player and you manage to get on the dropship and take off, you're going to go ahead and you're going to get a bonus to your XP. Or on our case, since we managed to destroy it, we're going to get a bonus to the XP. Alright, let's jump now to some actual multiplayer footage. Here we are now, probably on my least favorite game mode, but it does do something quite well. It allows me to show you the Titans, because they're pretty important, we gotta talk about them. This is Last Titan Standing. So there's 6 Titans on the field, or 12 Titans on the field, 6 on each 6. whichever team destroys the other team's Titans wins. I've said it before, I don't need to keep reiterating it. It's pretty straightforward. But we needed a chance to talk about the Titans. What do they bring to the game and everything? In my opinion, the Titans actually are not all that much fun. They're not bad, but they're kind of an in-between. So they are a little too light and maneuverable to have the feel of a real hulking, big old, I don't know, mech. If you look at mech work, it doesn't feel like, it feels like a light mech, I guess would be the best thing. Something, say like a 30-ton light mech. It doesn't have the feel of something like an Atlas or anything, it's just kind of there. Which I suppose is to be expected if you look at the size of them. Yet they don't feel like they have the maneuverability, say, of a Gundam. I'm sorry, not a Gundam, but the standard issue mobile suit in the Gundam series. It's been so long since I watched Gundam, I don't remember any of them. But I remember there were the Gundams, which were the high-end ones, and then there were the low-end ones. It doesn't even feel quite like those. It feels weaker than that. It's just something kind of in the middle that, while I don't dislike it, I'm just not a huge fan of it. It definitely does a good job of bringing variety to the game. It adds something that the game needed. I think it could have been done a little bit better. I think a little more variety in what they did could have worked great, but it's acceptable. So you have basically 3 options when you call in one of these guys. Obviously we're starting off inside one because that's this game mode, but basically what'll happen is you call him in, you can either get in and pilot him yourself, which is what we're doing here. It's going to give you the greatest accuracy, it's going to give you the longest range, and it'll probably make him about as efficient as he can be for his loadout. The other option is you can call him in, and then without getting him into him, you can either tell the AI to guard a certain location, or follow you and guard you, and kind of run Overwatch. This is actually what I do almost the entire time, and we'll see this later on in the next game mode that I show you, where I have him run Overwatch on me almost the entire time. I find the maneuverability of the pilot to be far more enjoyable than I find the firepower of the Titan to be. So I prefer to switch out modes. In fact, I probably would have jumped out of the Titan here and just ran around on foot if I thought it would have helped. But when there's 6 enemy Titans on the map, it's hard to run around on foot as you're just going to get destroyed pretty quick. I needed to be in my Ogre in order to survive. Now when you go ahead and you jump out and everything, it works to your advantage, at least what I find works to my advantage, because people are going to focus on your Titan more than they're going to focus on you. Now people are starting to learn this a little bit, they're getting better at it, but for the longest time people would see the, they'll see the Titan coming and they start backing away and running away, and they don't see you running across the building above next to him. And so as they're running away, trying to get the rocket launcher on him or whatever, you can jump down on behind them and just blow them away. It also works well when you're taking on a single other Titan, or maybe 2 other Titans, as they'll be fighting your Titan and you can move around behind them and either shoot at them with your anti-Titan weapon, or you can try to roadie them, which is where you jump up on their back and you destroy the weak spot that they have. Now this seems to have been patched since beta, the rodeo. I'm sure everybody's seen videos of it. In the beta, it was about 2 magazines could take down a Titan via rodeo. That has changed, at least in my experience it's changed. I put 2 full shotgun round magazines into one before I could take one down, not a single smart pistol or double smart pistol magazine. They just seem to increase how much damage you have to do in order to take them down. Now, bringing the Titans though into the game did a good job of putting something else out on the battlefield to keep an eye on. You don't have to really worry about snipers, because a sniper's not going to do a whole lot of damage to one of these things, so any snipers out on the map have to be more careful about not showing themselves to a Titan. And they provide something in the map in terms of excitement that was missing in was missing in the Call of Duty games. In Call of Duty games, you ran around and you knew, okay, this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner, and you watched and once you knew the map, you knew the map. Well, with this, you don't know when the Titans are going to be there, or this Titan's there. You can watch the map, and you'll eventually find Titans and everything. There's just a certain element. Now, this may die down in time. You know, I'm now, after recording the footage for both parts of this video, I'm up to maybe 6 hours of gameplay in. In time, maybe the Titan will just become second nature, kind of like how an attack chopper or a tank is just second nature in Battlefield. It's very possible it will happen. For now, though, it is an interesting addition if it doesn't quite add what I wanted to it, to the game. They're good, which is what I've been saying about this game a lot. It's acceptable. So, we're going to go ahead, and I think that's enough of this. You get the Titan combat, the Titan on Titan. We'll go ahead and we're going to jump up to something a little more exciting here. Now, here we are. We're loading in to probably my favorite game mode. That is, what is it? Pilot Hunt? Pilot Hunter. Hunter. I thought it was Pilot Hunt. So this is the game mode where you only get credit for killing other pilots. It's not attrition. You're not getting any credits for killing any grunts or anything. Just the pilots. And I find this to probably be the best of all of them. It's nothing very complex, you know, it's kind of sad that this is my favorite with how simplistic it is. But it is my favorite game mode. But this is going to be a good one to show off two things. It's going to be able to show off the parkour and the gunplay, as it's a much smaller, more congested type combat going on here. I don't start off very well, but I do pick it up a little bit later on in the game. So, everything so far in the game has been kind of average to acceptable, but you wish there was a little bit more type thing. At least I wish there was a little bit more. But there's two things that I don't wish there was more of. The parkour system and the maps, or the map design. Not to say that more wouldn't be good, but they've really knocked the combination of both of these out of the park. So, the movement system of the game, of the pilot, let me correct that, not of the Titan, but of the pilot, is very good. Now, there's a pretty high learning curve to it. Not in terms of complexity, but in terms of just getting a feel for, okay, if I jump here, how high am I going to get? Will I make it through that window, yes or no? If I can I get onto this wall, and will that allow me to carry to that wall? There's just a lot of that takes time, and it's going to require you learning both the map and the character itself. There'll be a few times in this where you'll see me, I'm going to go for like double jumps into a window, and either I completely miss it and fall flat, or I smash my face into the wall above the window because I jumped too high. And that's something that just comes with time. I'm getting better at it as I play. This is the key to the tutorial system. But this movement system really brings the game to a new level, at least in my opinion. It makes for something far more enjoyable than I really thought I would have. It's, to be honest with you, so think of Brink. If you played Brink, I'm sorry, I did too, and oh, it was bad. But one thing Brink did do was its parkour system amazingly well. You could move from, look at this, because that was a pretty good kill, if I do say so myself. It brought the, you know, when you came up to an object, you just went right over it with ease and everything. Now, this doesn't have the natural pull right over it with everything else, but with a quick jump, your jump height is high enough that it just carries you over most level objects. And then if you get on the wall running, you can really pick up speed. And that's actually where the best players are probably going to do the best. They're going to probably run the cloak, and they're going to wall run all the way to you and get behind you. Because if you can chain wall runs together, each additional chain, you pick up speed. And I'm sure it maxes out somewhere. I haven't been able to get there. But as you pick up that speed, you're just moving along, and if you're invisible, you'll be by somebody before they see your cloak go past. Right there, I tried to actually get in that window. I'm glad I did, because I would have grenaded myself. And, yeah. The parkour system, it also does something to what could have been a corner camper in the melee. So, if we take the Titans out of it, there's a lot of structures and everything, and this will lead into the maps, that within the buildings, within the structures, within the tunnels, the game could feel a lot like Call of Duty if it wasn't careful. But having the map design and the parkour system, if somebody's trying to camp a corner with a shotgun, you can just go up over the corner and come in the backside in a matter of seconds. You know, it'll take you all of 3 seconds to traverse over a building and get back to the other side of it if you're good at the parkour system. So it eliminates that. It also makes these terrifying, well, not terrifying, but deadly titans that are stomping around, it makes them a little more manageable. Because if they don't catch you in open ground, they're going to have a real tough time killing you, as you can move through the building faster, way faster than they could ever circle it. So if they see you on one side, you're going to be out the other side and moved on before they can get around it. And I think it was the key to their balancing, but it flows and it feels really good once you get the hang of it. When you pull off a series of 5 or 6 just chain jumps in a row, it's rewarding in its own way. And that ties right into the maps and the map design. So there is a pretty good selection of maps. I've played probably about, I'd say, 12 or 15 different maps. And while some of them feel the same, you know, it's an apartment block on a city or this on a desert, they're unique enough where they carry themselves. But beyond just the number of maps that the game shipped with, which was very good, is also the way the maps are designed. Somehow, they put together maps that are both large and feel large and big enough to handle 12 Titans, yet at the same time, small enough, or there's enough structures in there to make it feel small enough that you can still have that tight corridor shooter of Call of Duty. It's a combination of the best of both worlds. And it's hats off to them. I don't know how they designed it. This must have been where a lot of their playtesting went, but they did a good job here. And those are probably the 2 biggest strengths of the entire game. Just a whole bunch of really well-designed maps that you can really move around in a really fun system via the parkour. Now, the gunplay, it's about what you would expect. It's very similar to Call of Duty. There's no denying that. It does have one thing that really drives me nuts, and I don't know if they did it on purpose or whatever. So it has sticky aim down sights, meaning you right click or you pull the left trigger to aim down sights, and then it'll stay that way until you pull it again to release it. It's not a hold, it's a toggle back and forth. And for the life of me, I cannot find a way to turn that off to where it's not a toggle but a hold instead. And this has gotten me killed more than a few times. In fact, throughout this video, you might have seen me maybe 5 times I've actually looked down sights. I'm almost always just hip fired almost the entire time. Now, for the most part, the weapons are accurate enough to pull off the hip fire, and that might be what they intended. They wanted to move away from the aim down sights and more to a hip fire type gameplay. And if that's what they did, it works. I just really wish I could turn off that toggle. If anybody finds a way to do it, let me know. I've gone through, and I don't see any way to turn it into a hold rather than a toggle. But if you're good at the Call of Duty gunplay, you'll be good at this gunplay. It is just very smooth, very clean, and so forth. Okay, so we covered basically everything. Now we got to talk about, do I recommend the game or not? Again, as with most of my reviews, I'm going to say it depends on the player, what they are looking for. If you're somebody that likes Battlefield, or even someone that liked not Battlefield, Call of Duty, or even somebody that liked the earlier Call of Duties. Like, for me personally, I loved COD4 Modern Warfare. It was great. But I bought into Modern Warfare 2, I bought World at War, which was different, but it was okay. I also bought Blops. All these were good, they worked, they functioned. But after Blops, when we went into Modern Warfare 2, and then Black Ops 2, I lost interest. There wasn't enough of variety there to keep me interested. It just kind of got old very quick for me. And I was like, I couldn't bring myself to spend $60 on this. This game does feel like a true iteration on the Call of Duty franchise. This feels like not Call of Duty 4 or whatever, but it feels like the difference that was Call of Duty 3 to Call of Duty 4. if you can remember those all the way back to that far. It's that much different that it just really brings it in an enjoyable amount that allows me to play it. So if you were like me and you were somebody that loved that amount of change, this is about that same amount of change. If you're a Call of Duty fan, you've probably already bought it, you know what you're getting. It's just terrific that way. Now, there are some things about it that I'm not entirely sold on. I believe it is still a little light on content, so I'm going to just speculate here a little bit. I believe it's light on content mostly because they spent so much time working on the engine, working on the parkour system, and working on the Titans. So this is all pure speculation, but my guess is they had to take the source engine, they had to tear it apart, fix it all up, and put it back together in order to get it to do what they needed to do. And this probably took them, I want to guess, a large chunk of their initial time investment and budget to do. And once they had that up and running, they then had to get something out the door in a relatively reasonable amount of time in order to turn profit without, going under or having EA start to get on them over how much money they were sinking into this. This isn't the first time we've seen this. We've seen this happen just recently with Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3 shipped with astonishing little amount of content when it first came out. And that was mostly because they'd spent all their time and money getting the new Frostbite engine to work. And then once the Frostbite engine was working, they could roll out content in a reasonable amount of time, but it took that initial time, so they rolled out 3, and then throughout the DLC, we got better levels, it improved this and improved that, until finally at the end, we had a pretty well-rounded game. My guess is the same thing is going to happen here. We have quite a few good maps. We're limited on the number of guns we have. We're limited on the number of abilities we have. We're limited on the stuff that would have taken dozens or hundreds of hours of playtesting to balance. They got the rest of it working. The stuff that would have been hard to balance isn't there. And I think that's going to be what we see in the DLC. So, I may be completely wrong on this, but if you're somebody that is looking for... You're not a huge first-person shooter fan, you're not a Call of Duty fan, but you're interested, you may want to hold out. Eventually, there's going to be a gold edition of this that'll come out with all the DLC, or hold out for a big sale, where you can get all the content, the more well-rounded game, with hopefully the extra modes, hopefully the more weapons and everything, all at once. I hope that's what happens. I'm still going to play this. I'm happy with my purchase. I would recommend it. I would give it a solid 8 out of 10 for me. It's a good first-person shooter that, just because I believe its own hype, I wish there was a bit more there. Yep. There we have it, folks. Final thoughts on Titanfall. This has been Power. Thanks for watching.